Okay, hello everybody. This is second week class, so I'm recording for Introduction to Christian Counseling second week class. So I continue the first week overview regarding for counseling. So in counseling has 7 or 8 principles. So first principle is principle of acceptance, principles of communication, principles of empathy, principles of no judgment attitude. These things is for counselors meet the client have to keep these principles. So that's why the open mind and the communication skill, empathy, and some be careful for empathy and non-judgment. You don't need to the people listening, and you don't need to the judgment. So most of the social workers regarding this one. So anyway, I would like to continue the class, the principle of counseling, the principles. So today we will study continued fifth principles of counseling, principle of confidentiality. Principles of confidentiality. Confidentiality. So what's the meaning of confidentiality? Confidentiality is an important aspect of counseling, very important aspect. So this means that under normal circumstances, no one outside the counseling center is given any information, even the fact that you have been hearing without your expressed written consent. What are the principles of confidentiality? The principle of confidentiality is about privacy and respecting someone's wishes. Respect, especially to the client. It's confidentiality. It means that the professionals shouldn't share personal details about someone with others, unless the person has said they can or is absolutely necessary. It is both principles of confidentiality. Why confidentiality is important in counseling? Why? Confidentiality is counseling creates a safe space for students to talk about anything and everything, and to get support without the fear of judgment or penalty. All students will be informed of these limits before speaking with the counselor, so that they can decide what information they wish to share. They decide to share the information. So there is confidentiality and ethical principle in counseling. Yes, sure. The confidentiality is the legal and ethical duty of therapists not to reveal information about their clients to unauthorized individuals, legally and ethically client have to have the right to prevent their therapist from disclosing information shared by them in counseling without their consent. This is for ethical principle of counseling with confidentiality. There are 6 kinds of confidentiality. What are the 6 principles of confidentiality? First, so let me check. Okay, I can see the let me see. There are 6. Oops. First is lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. Lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. 7 principles of the confidentiality purpose limitations. Third one is data mini misleading, accuracy, storage limitation, integrity, and confidentiality. These things is the 6 principles of identity and confidentiality. So briefly, I explained that the 6 principles of confidentiality is first, justify the purpose. And second, don't use patient identifiable information unless it is absolutely necessary. Use the minimum necessary patient identifiable information. Access to patient identifiable information should be on a strict need to know basis. And everyone with access to patient identifiable information should be aware of their responsibilities. 6, understand and comply with the law. These things is the 6 kind of principles of confidentiality. Okay, it's not important. Anyway, this you need to there are some kind of confidentiality. So the organization broadly speak need to the embed 6 privacy principles within their opinions: lawfulness, fairness, and transparency, and purpose limitations, data minimization, accuracy, storage limitations, integrity, and confidentiality. Okay, so the confidentiality in counseling essay. Let me explain. Let me introduce to you some specific essay regarding confidentiality in counseling. So I introduced the 6 categories with different groups, ethical dilemma and steps, challenges facing confidentiality, and benefit of confidentiality, and conclusion, and more references. So I introduced the confidentiality essay. The counseling describes a method of relating and responding to other individuals with the aim of providing them with an opportunity to explore, discover, and clarify ways of living more satisfyingly and resourcefully. It depends on the context in which the word is used to drive the drive the actual meaning. Generally, counseling is a service provided by a trained professional, and it is processes that involves a series of steps. These include identifying the problem that needs to be addressed. Such problems could be from the client who needs counseling help, consider the outcome of decision. It means to client and to entire society. They understand the client, assessing one's potential competence. For example, skills that are required to solve the current problem. The consideration of ethical standards in relation to the situation. In counseling, information shared includes one's body, mind, and thought, beliefs, feeling, and fantasies. Confidentiality refers to the ethical principle of not revealing information known to a given party to non-authorized parties. This principle ensures secrecy among two or more parties who share information to them. In addition, confidentiality restrict giving information to third parties. Counseling involves so much classified information being revealed by the client. For example, it may involve confessions and the revelations of past and the current situations of darkest and very sensitive high profile information of crimes, plans that are underway to achieve a given objective, secrets that could lead to arrest and prosecution by law, and other forms of confidential information that should not be allowed to reach a third party. Also, counseling takes on different forms depending on the situation, such as a traumatic experience that has occurred in one's life, or information required on medical, career, legal, spiritual, and emotional situation that have affected a client either short or long term. They affected us a lot. In either situation, the information shared between the client and the professional counselor should be kept and treated with the privacy and confidentiality that is deserved with regard to conformity to legal standards that describe confidentiality. Okay? Both confidentiality and privacy are integrally related. Privacy allows individuals to limit access to information about themselves, whereas confidentiality allows individuals to control access of the information they have shared, hence enabling the development of client trust with the counselor. So these things is the counseling essay. So different group. First chapter is different groups and with confidentiality in counseling essay. Counseling involves a variety of different age groups. Matters that affect these groups, and most of the group that seek counseling services tend to assume that whatever they are disbursing to their counselor will be kept confidentially. For children with adolescents, there are many critical issues that face them, which need the counselors maintain confidentiality in offering their services. The adult clients are assumed rational in providing any kind of information to the counselors. Managing confidentiality in counseling minors tend to be very complex because most of them are frightened and have doubts that the information given out might be divulged to third parties who might threaten the minors to the extent of causing more harm to them. And the second chapter is the ethical dilemma and steps. Having a mentally disturbed patient who suffers from paranoia. At this point, the situation needing attention is a description of paranoia, the different forms and the symptoms, the patient, and how to calm the effect of paranoia. The therapist decide on the best way possible to handle the patient. The decision made will affect both the patient and the other colleagues in different ways. The patient should be informed of the measures to take when certain feelings of anxiety, fear, and violence reaction come up. The psychologist should contact the patient, family, or friends and inform them about the consequence of situations. Consultations and information gathering about the issues of paranoia from other professionals, the internet, and medical literatures will enhance the process of decision making by the psychologist in order to provide best assistance. The psychologist can also direct the patient to another professional colleague who has vast experience on such situation. In such cases, the ethical standard of confidentiality is breached, so to allow extensive acquiring and dissemination of knowledge that will be helpful in assisting both of the patient and the entire community. But privacy and anonymity of patients' situations should be taken into consideration. Okay, so now we are talking about the ethical dilemma and steps. In order to clearly understand and provide solution to the situation, the psychologist should analyze the links between family, behavior, culture, and relevant theories that correlate to the dilemma of the patient. In most cases, counseling jeopardizes a person's feeling, rights, position, and judgment. In this situation, the psychologist should prioritize the patient's dilemma and consider performance to the best, even if it breaches the legality, provided it does not endanger the patient's community relations. In offering the professional services, the psychologist should consider the role of other aspects in the community towards the decisions undertaken in the entire process. How paranoia is perceived with the culture, religion, and social context, and the corrective steps taken should such aspects result into conflicts by either seeking legal assistance. In case of unexpected result in future, the psychologist should develop alternative courses of action if, for example, the services given to the paranoia patient face prejudice from community. Prescription of other professional services should be advised accordingly. The situation at hand should be looked and advised within a large perspective in consideration to the effect and those affected by the decision. The process should accommodate and harmonize the perspectives of all the members involved in counseling. All the decisions made by the professional counselors should be taken in consideration of personal responsibility to the later. Through reconciliatory means in consideration to ethical code, response, and actions. The possible outcome and the eventuality of the result should be evaluated by psychologists in terms of the overall action taken in providing counseling services to the paranoia patient and the result. If negative, other courses of action should be prescribed to correct the situation of either the patient, conflict from society, legal issues, and other areas. The above processes should be followed by the psychologist to ensure that the decision taken not to assist the paranoia patient does not compromise the safety of all the parties. In addition, the services provided help the patient's life in the future. It will ensure that future challenges are overcome in a conflict-free environment, while guaranteeing better professional services to patients. The subchapter consists of the subchapter challenges facing confidentiality. Challenges. Sometimes in the counseling process, not all the information is available by the client, and such information could be needed for different issues to take place. For example, a client who has been severely abused sexually by parents or a stranger for that matter could hide such information from the counselor due to the relation that exists between the client and the perpetrator. This hidden information is required by the counselor and medical practitioners to describe medication and other measures for the client. Hence, the counselor might opt to get the information from a third party to be able to ensure the success of counseling. Such a situation breaches confidentiality of the information for both parties. So challenge basis in confidentiality refers 5 things. One thing is parental consent. Parental consent is needed from parents and guardian before entering counseling relationship, especially in case where the minors are considered not to make informed decisions about certain issues. However, their inclusion in the counseling process might restrict some information from the minors and as a result breaching confidentiality of the entire process. This is parents' content, need parent content. Second one is competency, that is age limit. Where the client is a minor and adult has a great influence toward confidentiality. For minors who are seen as irrational in terms of revealing information and making decisions. The confidentiality is not guaranteed to some extent because a third party has to be involved in such a context to reveal or confirm certain information. The competency of age determines the confidentiality of the counseling process. And such challenges, think about it, legal issues. First, parent content, competency in the legal issues. Matters concerning the various law of any given state influence confidentiality in a way. For example, in cases of minor pregnancy, the minor might refuse to inform her parents about the plans for the abortion or even the pregnancy. Third, if the abortion go out of hand, the counselor is held responsible by law as for not informing the parents. Moreover, privacy rights influence confidentiality in counseling. Very serious. And the challenges facing confidentiality, we think about decision-making models. Think about the parent content, for example. This competency, legal issues, and decision-making models. Several models are used by counselors to promote the client. Welfare depending on the situation at hand. Here, complexity of the situation and the information provided by the clients would influence the use of a third party. This is decision-making model. And one more challenges factors facing confidentiality we think about as a privileged communication. This refers to the right that protect clients from disclosing information during legal proceedings without informed consent. Confidentiality in various situations is breached, such as where it has involved notifiable diseases, and the entire society has to be informed of the disease and its dangers. Other situations involve the birth and deaths of individuals by the clients, information given to the police officers due to accident and crime, court orders which would require that certain information to be made available to third parties, and where the professionals have to share certain information. All these forms result in breaching of confidentiality in any cases of counseling. These things we think about the challenges facing confidentiality. And let me show to another next part of the confidential in the counseling essay. Benefit of confidentiality. Benefits of confidentiality. What is the benefit? The client benefits from confidentiality during the counseling process in that the client has a secure environment to give a full and frank account of issues pertaining to the problem they are facing. In other words, the client has someone whom he or she can accord trust for counseling services. Confidentiality supports public confidence and trust in both counseling and the general healthcare services. And trust in both counseling and the general healthcare services, as I said. It expresses mutual respect for the client or patient. And the autonomy of the patient is guaranteed. Mission. So confidentiality also guarantees the client's benefits, non-malfeasance, justice, and equal treatment and fidelity. In certain cases, confidentiality reduces chance of the client being vulnerable a certain risk that may arise if the information revealed is made public and or relayed to a third party. The confidentiality ensures that the client's situation is dealt with. However, next may look at the client and hence reduce chances of certain solvable situation worsening and becoming catastrophic in the future. Clients are able to access professional assistance without the fear of victimization, and hence the reduction of guilty conscience in the client's lives. So the confidentiality in counseling essay conclusion. I introduced the conclusion. Counseling involves numerous services that are provided to the clients by professional counselors. These services concern and influence a person's taste, beliefs, thoughts, and fantasies. So the confidentiality greatly influences the entire process of counseling as the client and the professional counselor have to build and maintain trustworthy ground of access to information from both parties for the entire process to be successful. Different groups influence the extent of confidentiality during the counseling process, hence resulting into variation of management of confidentiality among the different groups. There are situations where confidentiality needs to be breached in order to get specific information about certain issues, and also to solve and prevent the occurrences of catastrophes in the entire society from the influence of information provided by the client. The client benefits from confidentiality in many different ways. In counseling, the professionals should adhere and strictly maintain and ensure that privacy and confidentiality of the process is maintained to the later. as this ensures the success of the counseling process. Okay, this one is for, let's say, about the confidentiality counseling. So counseling suggestion many kinds of issues or models. There are many things. It's a different group how to either do that, and the ethical dilemma and the steps, challenge facing confidentiality, benefit of confidentiality, and finally the conclusion is this essay. Okay. Now continued class. This is second week, so I think the second week, until second week, so we have to overview the counseling, and then next week I would like to introduce the Christian counseling, because it's before the time I want to introduce the counseling first, and then a little bit attach the biblical concept of counseling. Okay, let me explain, continue the number 6 principle of the counseling. I showed six principles. Individuality. Principle. Individuality. So when you are counseling for other clients, you need to keep the principle of individuality. The essence of this principle is allowing the individual the freedom of choice and action. It addresses the responsibility of the counselor to encourage his client, when appropriate, to make their own decisions and to act on their own values. What is the characteristic of individual counseling? Individual counseling is a one-to-one discussion between the counselor and the client, who is the person seeking treatment. The two form an alliance, relationship, or bond that enable trust that personal growth. And next, what are the principles of effect counseling? There are 5 kinds of principles of effective relationship counseling. First is challenge relationship view, reduce friction by modifying dysfunctional behavior, reduce emotional distress and avoidance, improves communication, promote positive strengths. But this course is the introduction to Christian counseling, so I don't want to deeply review this one. Only introduce the 5 principles of effective relationship counseling, and also what are the principles of confidentiality counseling. Confidentiality is an important aspect of counseling. This means that under normal circumstances, no one outside the counseling center is given any information, even the fact that you have been here without your expressed written consent. So counseling allows individuals to explore their feelings, beliefs, and behaviors, work through challenges or influential memories, identify aspects of their lives that they would like to change, better understand themselves and others, set personal goals, and work toward desired change. Work toward desired change. This is the objective of individual counseling. Finally, every individual wants to work toward desired change. That is the objectives of individual counseling. Individual counseling is a personal opportunity to receive support and experience growth during challenging times in life. Individual counseling can help one deal with many personal topics in life, such as anger, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, marriage and relationship challenge, parenting problem, school difficulties, career changes, etc. So individual counseling is sometimes called psychotherapy, talk therapy, or treatment. So again, individual counseling, sometimes we call it psychotherapy, talk therapy, or treatment. It's a process through which clients work one-on-one with trained mental health clinician in safe, caring, and confidential environment. Counseling allows individuals to explore their feelings, beliefs, and behaviors, work through challenging or influencing memories, identify aspects of their lives that they would like to change, better understand themselves and others, set personal goals, and work through desired changes. As I said, this is for individual counseling goals. And also individual counseling is counseling focused on the individual's immediate or near future concerns. Individual counseling may encompass career counseling and planning, grief after loved one dies, or dealing with problems at a job before they become big. Individual counseling is one-on-one discussion between the counselor and the client, who is the person seeking treatment. The two form an alliance, relationship or bonds that enable trust and personal growth. And next, how are therapy goals, frequency, and duration determined? In general, the goals of psychotherapy, this individual counseling, is talk through mental health concern and help clients heal, grow, and move toward more productive, psychologically healthy lives. Good therapy is client-driven, and specific goals for therapy will be determined by you and your therapist. Individual psychotherapy sessions typically last between 45 and 50 minutes. The frequency and duration of therapy will depend largely on your needs, treatment goals, and progress. Many concerns are readily resolved with short-term therapy, and other chronic or more complex concerns require long-term commitment before improvement is realized. Research has shown that psychotherapy results in few relapses of common conditions such as moderate depression, and anxiety, and that the positive effect of good therapy extends well beyond treatment. In fact, many clients report improved condition long after therapy has ended. In general, psychotherapy is often more effective than psychotropic drugs or medical treatment alone, which may cause harmful side effects. In addition, many therapeutic modalities evidence-based, meaning they have been subject to research studies and clinical observations, and they have been analyzed for effectiveness. How the goes frequency during the community. And last year continued. What happens during the single session or first time appointment for short-term counseling? If you have okay. This is for the story. Okay. So now I introduce the individualities, principle of individualities for principle of counseling. And next, the seventh is non-emotional improvement. The emotional improvement. The seventh principle of counseling is principle of non-emotional involvement. Involvement. I'm sorry, the involvement. What's the principle of non-emotional involvement in counseling? Not getting emotionally involved with the client and avoid getting carried away with his feelings. Okay? The controlled emotional involvement is another essential component of the workers' disciplined use of self as instrument in the helping relationship. It has three elements: empathy, sensitivity, guided by cognitive understanding, in the service of the therapeutic purpose. Okay, so again, what is the principle of non-emotional involvement in counseling? Is control, not getting emotionally involved with the client and avoid getting carried away with his feelings. Avoid emotionally, okay? And simply the final is principle of purposeful principles of purposeful expression of feelings. Expression. The last principle of the counseling is principles of purposeful expression of feelings. It means it's very simple. The recognition of the client's need to express his feelings freely, especially his negative feelings. So the worker listens purposefully, neither discouraging nor condemning the expression of these feelings. This is for purposeful expression of feelings. So say again, differ for your understanding. The purposeful expression of feelings means it's a recognition of clients' need to express feeling freely. Also, purposefully listening without discouraging or condemning expressed feeling. Also, where beneficial, stimulate and encourage free expression of feelings. These things are purposefully expression of feelings. Okay, so say again to summarize. The purposeful expression of feeling is the recognition of the client's need to express his or her feelings freely, especially his or her negative feelings. The caseworker listens purposefully, neither discouraging nor condemning the expression of those feelings. Sometimes he or she even stimulates and encourages them when the expression is of therapeutic nature. It is to recognize the client's feeling and express it freely before the caseworker, especially his negative feelings. The caseworker listens purposefully, neither discouraging nor condemning. The expression of these feelings, sometimes even actively stimulating and encouraging them when they are therapeutically useful as a part of the casework service. This is purposefully expression of feelings. Okay, so this is the last, the principle of counseling. Continued first week and the second. So now I would like to introduce the third quarter class, third week. Just to briefly introduce to you guys the next week contents. So the third week we will class the basic principles of and the techniques of counseling. I think the 3 weeks I will introduce the overall counseling. So next week I will introduce the basic principles and the techniques of counseling. Okay. So now I introduce briefly next week class. I would like to introduce to you guys first techniques for counseling and the level of human relations and conversation in counseling and conversational tips. So and the characteristic of counseling dialogue. So is some very briefly introduced to you guys their techniques and principles related to counseling. Okay, so today is very difficult to decide to close the class or not. But anyway, now I will introduce to next class title and we will study that. The basic principles and techniques of counseling next week. Okay. So today, thanks for doing my class and see you next week with the principle. and techniques regarding code counseling. Okay, thanks for joining the class. See you next week. Okay.